Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. He always believed photos couldn't lie. Tom Harris worked the night shift at an old photography archive in downtown Chicago. His job was simple: take thousands of aging photographs, both color and black and white, and upload them to the cloud. It was slow work. Each photo had to be carefully scanned, labeled, tagged, dated, you name it. For the most part, the photos were boring: family portraits, street shots, pictures of buildings, school pictures. They were pretty uneventful until one night when Tom opened box number 87. Tom wasn't sure what was in the box. The outside of it was completely blank. There was no list of contents or markings of any kind. It just had a number stamped into the wood. When he lifted the lid, he saw hundreds of black and white photos, each wrapped in tissue paper, secured with a rubber band. All the photos looked old, like they might have been taken during the 60s or 70s. And all of them had something in common. In the background of every single photo stood the same strange shadow. It was vaguely humanoid, about 5'8", if Tom had to guess, thin, always standing in the exact same spot. But that wasn't the most disturbing part. The first few photos Tom examined seemed normal enough. They showed young couples kissing, kids playing, a man walking his dog. It wasn't until he looked closer that he noticed the unsettling details. The people in the photos, the ones who seemed so alive just seconds before, were now gone, vanished. He could see their houses, their cars, their jobs, their families, all still there, but the people themselves, nowhere to be found. He learned their names, their ages, where they lived and where they worked, by scouring the internet, searching their faces. Against the grainy backdrop of the photos, he watched dozens of YouTube videos of people describing their lives, talking about their hopes and dreams. And then he read the news stories, the ones that described their disappearances. In the first photo, there was a young mother holding her baby. Both were smiling, looking toward the camera. But the moment they disappeared, the house they stood in front of was abandoned. Their two other children were put into foster care. The father was left to raise his sons alone. In another photo, Tom saw a businessman adjusting his briefcase. He was probably late for an important meeting, Tom thought. But where was he going? To celebrate his promotion, maybe, or to sign some big contract. The man never got the chance. He vanished while shaking hands on a deal. The company crumbled shortly after. As the night wore on, Tom studied more photos. He watched engaged couples plan their weddings only to disappear days before the ceremony. He saw graduation pictures of students who never made it to college. He found baby pictures of infants who never grew up. Tom was fascinated, but scared too. What had happened to these people? Were they all connected somehow? And why did their images haunt this box? The next day, Tom went to his boss. "Look at this," he said, pushing the box open. But his boss didn't seem interested. "It's just another box, Tom," he said. "There are thousands of boxes here. Some are full of negatives. Others have prints. It doesn't matter. Just scan them all." So Tom did. Night after night, he delved deeper into the box of shadows. He learned that almost all the people in the photos had disappeared in the 1980s. The oldest photo he found was from 1965, the newest from 1989. But what really intrigued him was the shadow itself. It appeared in every image, always the same shape, always in the same position, watching. At first, Tom thought it was a flaw in the lens, some artifact of age. But as he looked at more photos, he began to doubt it. If it was a flaw, shouldn't it have changed over the years? Shouldn't it have become more pronounced or faded away altogether? Why would it have remained exactly the same throughout decades? Then one night, Tom was scanning photos from the early 1970s. He paused at one particular image. It was a picture of a boy at a birthday party. The kid was blowing out candles on a cake, surrounded by friends and family. In the background, watching intently, was the shadow. That was odd. But what really caught Tom's attention was the window behind the boy. Tom recognized the building. It was his apartment building. He moved in 6 months ago and had already begun renovating his apartment. The place had been vacant for at least 10 years. That's when Tom felt the air in the archive grow heavier. He looked around. Was anyone else here? No, of course not. It was the middle of the night. He was alone. But suddenly, he wasn't so sure. As he scanned more photos, the shadow seemed to move closer, like it was walking toward him through the photos. Tom shook off the feeling. He had been working too long and too hard. He needed sleep. But later that week, he felt it again. He was examining a picture of a young couple kissing on a park bench. They seemed happy. They were in love. But then Tom remembered. He knew the girl in the photo. She lived in his apartment building. Her name was Lily. She had moved in a month after he did. He often saw her in the elevator. They had talked a few times. He knew she liked photography. Maybe that's why she was in this photo. But that didn't explain the shadow. Tom turned to look at the window behind the couple. It was the same one he stared out of every day. He rubbed his eyes. Was he imagining things? He checked the date on the photo and nearly fainted. The photo had been taken 3 days after Lily moved in. But that wasn't the worst of it. After he uploaded the photo to the cloud, Tom went home and shut every curtain in his apartment. That night, his phone vibrated. A new photo had been uploaded to his account. He opened it. It was a picture of him taken just moments before. He was sitting at his computer scanning photos. And behind him, just outside the window, stood the shadow. Every night after that, Tom tried to block out the shadow, but it kept finding him. It appeared in photos, in doorways, everywhere. He saw it, once at the end of the aisle between the shelves, just for a second. He blinked. It was gone. He checked the security footage. Nothing was ever there. But one morning, his co-workers found the office empty. His laptop was still running. The last image he scanned was a picture of a child at a birthday party. And behind him, in the reflection of his monitor, stood the shadow. When the police arrived, they found his keys on the table next to a half-eaten sandwich and an empty water bottle. They dusted for fingerprints. They checked his cell phone. They combed through the photos, but nothing made sense. Tom had taken thousands of photos during his time at the archive, but the police couldn't find any that could have helped them track him down. Now, several months later, the lead detective on the case sat in Tom's old office, staring at the screen. A photo was uploading. In a few moments, he would see the face of the missing man, the man who had disappeared after spending all night at the archive, the man who had vanished without a trace. The detective held his breath, then clicked the link. It was a picture of an empty chair. Behind it stood the shadow. The detective shook his head. There had to be a logical explanation, but as he stared at the photo, he realized there wasn't. He looked at the reflection on his sunglasses. It was the same shadow. It was always the same shadow.